I never went to sleep in my house feeling safe. The person that was hurting me, my stepfather, was also the more loving parent. There was, domestic violence in the house, so he was also very harsh and abusive to my mother. So he created a very confusing environment for a little girl.
Liberty House is a child abuse assessment center that provides evaluations for kids and teens when there are concerns of abuse or neglect.
So we offer physical exams, forensic interviews, and support services for non-offending caregivers.
Children can get assessed in a safe, non-threatening environment at one of the toughest times in their life.
When kids leave Liberty House, they feel better because they have a witness for what happened to them. But this is just the beginning step. So somebody knows that something happened, there's no secret anymore. But now what are we going to do with all those emotions? What are they going to do with all those emotions?
We create a story about what happened to us. I turned the blame for the abuse on myself. And because I blamed myself for it, I also started feeling ashamed.
If those emotions aren't addressed, they tend to stay with people, with children as they grow up and become toxic.
They feel guilty, they feel ashamed, they feel afraid, and they're unable to talk about it. It's an ongoing process to work through the damage as a result of that physical abuse, sexual abuse, psychological abuse that occurs.
As I grew up older with this secret and with no one to talk to, so did the damage, the internal struggle.
So what a counselor can do for a child is listen to a child, help the child put his or her feelings into perspective and understand them, and help the child find ways to cope with what's been done to him or her.
We're going to create a new understanding of that abuse so that those feelings can be really manageable, you put them in the right place, and that you no longer feel responsible for what's occurred.
I'd heard about mental health, I'd heard about support groups. There had to be someone out there that could help me put together the pieces.
We've learned through the research that childhood trauma has a tremendous effect on people long-term, all through their adulthood.
So the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, has really brought concrete proof to this concept that bad things that happen when you're young have really serious, negative, life-challenging events later in life.
When those mental health issues aren't treated, they can lead to a lot of health issues like increased risk for cardiovascular disease, for example.
If we can intervene early when a bad thing has happened, we're going to create more resilience in children that are going to allow them to have a much more productive life and a much healthier life as they grow older.
The first few times when I talked about it, I could barely get a word out because the shame was crippling, and I cried so hard, I was shaking. But having just a loving presence there in front of me who understood and kept affirming that you're doing okay and this wasn't your fault, just hearing those words made all the difference.
I have heard kids say that Liberty House, once they leave, sometimes they say, "Can I come back?" It would be great if they could come back to Liberty House for those services because they already feel connected and they already feel safe.
I come with my child to Liberty House when we get those services. You give me a referral to go down the street to meet somebody that's new, I've got to go tell that story again. I've got to go through this whole thing one more time.
I think the idea that it's already a familiar setting and there's already some positive association with people who are caring, warm, and it's a safe environment, it definitely will be a plus.
Although there are some really great trauma-informed therapists in town, there aren't enough for the amount of children who need their help.
So we're still going to work with our list of community providers, our mental health providers. We have good clinicians in the community. That's not going to go away. All we're going to do is be able to add to that and to be able to provide more services.
We'll be able to see kids individually. We'll be able to see families together. We'll be able to put kids in group therapy if necessary. We'll develop a range of services based on the individual needs of these kids and families that's going to really support them and improve their resiliency and improve their health outcomes.
So if they have a safe place that they can go and continue to process and talk about it and work through all that's happened to them, it's continuing to let them have their voice, which is something that started when they walked through the doors at Liberty House.
It makes me so excited and happy to know that there is a place like Liberty House, that children don't walk around with the thoughts that somehow this was their fault and that somehow they did something wrong. It's going to help them sort that out before it becomes an ingrained, deep-seated belief that they take with them for the rest of their lives.
I know, because I've seen it, that children can heal from this. They can, and so can adults.
It's an exciting thing to bear witness to as a child comes out of the shadow of abuse and into the light of understanding that they are a person of worth and value.
So if we can give them services at a time when they are young and when they can understand really soon after the event that happened, soon after the abuse, that it's okay, you can get through this, I think it makes all the difference in the world.
Working with children, helping them recover, helping restore their life, giving them a sense of future, giving them a sense of self. It's the best thing that we can do. It's why I do this after 30 years of being a therapist.
Really, I'm really happy about it. It's really important.
I am so excited about what the future holds for Liberty House. I mean, we have grown so much in this year alone, and to now look at the next steps about what we're going to be offering for this community, it's amazing. I'm very excited. I'm excited to be a part of it.
That ongoing support that Liberty House is going to provide for this community and for these children, my heart sings. I think that's the best way to describe it, but you're going to help so many people. My heart sings every day.